Welcome back, everybody, to BVarsity Live. It's about 2:45. We've got David Coldiron of Mira Monte High School in the studio now. Hey, I wanted to mention real quick before we get going with Coach Coldiron, if you are interested in advertising in our high school football preview, 64 pages, not just high schools, actually, colleges, USC, UCLA, Bakersfield College, and the pros. We'll have some Raiders, Chargers, 49ers type stuff in there, too. It's a 64-page section, be seen by a lot of people. If you're interested in advertising, call Aileen at 395-7622. That's area code 661-395-7622. I'll throw that out there one more time at the end of the show. Got 1 day left for advertising, and that is coming out August the 27th, the day before the first Friday night of the season. And that will bring us to Mira Monte, Coach David Coldiron.
Right.
And you guys we're getting close here.
Yes, we are. Absolutely close.
2 weeks from tonight, is a Thursday night, but there's a few games, and then the
Correct.
first Friday night, the day after that. So how are things going out at Mira Monte? You guys got off the schneid out of 21-game program losing streak. I know you weren't there for all of that, but you ended it. That's the most important thing in Week 10 last year against Foothill. How does that change things for you in 2015?
Well, it a tremendous change. As you know, I mean, you come into a new school and there's a lot of stuff. Kids are learning you're learning the kids, you're learning the coaches, everything. So there's a lot of things going on. And then when you pile on top of the fact that, well, we haven't really won here yet, so we don't really know how to win yet. Mm-hmm. We have to teach them a lot of stuff, not only playing football or teaching your scheme or system that you want to do, but you got to talk to the kids about how to win, how to finish games, because we did have a couple chances early on in the season last year, and we couldn't finish it off. We had a really good chance against Taft. We had a really good chance against Independence, and we thought we played well against some other teams too, and we just didn't finish. And I think that has really helped, because the one thing we did really well against Foothill is we came in there and we kept swinging all through the fourth quarter, and we learned how to finish off a game. And had you been there, it was a dust storm, it was raining, it was everything. It was quite a scene, and the kids were just so happy. And it gave us something to really build off of.
Yeah, that's tremendous, and it's that really is true. You can play a good game until you win one.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you get that reward.
No.
And it really is. I mean, people downplay winning, and it's the process. But if you're not getting the wins, you see the distinction, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
What else is new for you? You mentioned to me, I was out at one of your practices earlier this week. You had an off season this year. You were able to sort of build things up with the coaches, maybe draw some plays up, get the kids in the weight room. I mean, that sort of thing that you didn't get to do last year.
Absolutely. We came in really late, and I was still contractually obligated to another school, so I wasn't able to come down here in last spring and get going. I had some coaches who were trying to get some things going, but it's very different when you're on campus and you're in there, after the end of the season, and you pull together a meeting with the guys and go, okay, we just ended the season, things went well, but is this what we want it to look like next year? We drew a picture of what we wanted this year, and we started filling in the dots about how do we get from here, where we're at today, to where we want to be in a year from now.
Yeah.
And so we got kids in the weight room. We started working hard in the weight room, got some kids, working in the off season, had a good summer. So, I think that's going to really help us. It should go a long ways to really help us this year. I think it started off on the right foot.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's an excitement out there that I was able to see, and a lot of the kids say, hey, I put on 20 pounds, I put on 15 pounds, I did this. I can tell just by looking at my teammates, they're bigger in a good way. They're stronger, they're more physically fit, and that probably was an issue last year. You talk about fourth quarters too, you start to get worn down.
That really was what the issue is. We did, we got, as our saying was, we got out weight roomed. In the fourth quarter a few times. We played really good football for 3 quarters. We hung in there, and then, the other team, their weight room just took over and just kind of ran us over in the fourth quarter, and we couldn't hang on. So we're hoping this year that's going to change, because we've worked hard in the weight room, and that was our goal, is to be prepared for that fourth quarter and not get pushed around like we did last year a few times.
I think people don't realize you guys were right there with South at the half. You were right there with Independence. I think you had the lead on Independence at the half. A couple of other games that, this is not a situation where maybe the first 2 weeks of the season you guys got run off the field a little bit, but after that it was not that sort of situation once you were prepared. One of the guys I think is worth mentioning, Hector Lopez, your quarterback, is coming back, and he told me he's really gotten to the point where he's making reads. He's going through progressions rather than just going back there and trying to play playground.
Yes. That's the one thing we worked with Hector. He was doing a really good job of working on his mechanics. He was throwing a good football. There were some of those things that were definitely there. Those pieces were there. But we needed to progress him. And in order to do that, we needed to teach him how to, get some pre-snap reads. We'd find out where his post-snap read is, how to get his eyes there, and then know if that's there, if it's not there, where he needed to take his eyes next. And he really did that well this summer. We did a lot of 7-on-7s, and Hector did a good job of moving the ball around. In fact, if there's a few times we played people and scored 4 or 5 times, and it was 4 or 5 different guys.
Wow.
Which really says a lot for his ability to move the ball around.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know you have some guys up front who are coming back who that's where that strength can really make a difference. Tell us about some of those guys.
Well, Roger Cuevas sticks out right away. He's going to be a senior this year. He played for us as a starter as a junior last year. He was an all-leaguer last year, as a matter of fact. And Roger's one of the guys that just bought into the weight room, said, hey, I'm going to help lead this team. So he's been in the weight room working hard. He's one of those guys that's gotten thicker. And he's been a leader in the weight room, and he's been a leader out in the field. And we look for some good things out of Roger. He's a good football player.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there are some of those out there. On the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned a couple of guys to me, too, who were young last year and kind of grew into these positions, especially at linebacker. But, boy, now they're players. Absolutely.
Christian Rodriguez is one of those guys that comes to mind right away. Christian's a junior this year, started off on the JV squad last year. We pulled him up in league, and he stepped in the first play of the first game, looked like he always belonged on the varsity field. So we're looking forward to Christian. There's another guy went to the weight room and took a leadership in the weight room. We also have Marquez Foreman, who was on the JV team, moved him up. He's at safety, and he's just a playmaker. The young man just wants to make a play. Every time the ball is out there, he wants to be the guy making the play, and you love that out of your kids. You know what I mean? You just love when you see a kid that just wants to make all the football plays.
Sure.
So that's exciting for us as well. But we have a couple other linebackers. Hakeem Taylor's coming up. He played freshman football for us last year. He's a sophomore. Good inside linebacker. And Roger Cuevas is going to be playing one of our outside linebackers, and then Jason Hernandez. So we think we're going to have a good linebacker core.
One thing that you guys mentioned, and we'll look at your schedule here in a minute, but you talked to the kids about what their goals were, and you kind of let them decide that. And they came up with a number of 8 wins. And that's, sometimes kids just talk and they feel optimistic. You get the feeling they really believe they can get there, which is saying something. Mira Monte, I believe, in 6 seasons of varsity football has won 14 games total. And that includes 5 the very first year, which is the most the school's ever won.
Correct.
So 8 would be a tremendous accomplishment.
Oh, huge.
But it's there. It's the possibility, at least, is there if things go well.
Hey, first thing you have to do is start with a belief. If we don't walk out the door with a personal belief, we're gonna be struggling from the get-go. So I like the fact that the kids have a strong personal belief. And like you said, I had them set the goals. I didn't want to put any numbers on there. And they came up with 8, and I looked at that and I said, you know what? That's going to be tough, but I think it's doable.
Yeah.
So let's say 8 wins, and let's go after it.
Well, let's see what may happen. Let's take a look at that Lions schedule and see where the 8 wins will have to come from. You open up at Shafter and at Golden Valley. Now, those were the 2 games last year where maybe you weren't prepared, and they, as a team, and they did get after you. And so opportunities for some payback there. At East, 3 road games to start the year. We look at that.
Yep.
And then Taft, Independence, Delano, so 3 home games to follow it up. Actually, 5. It looks like 5 home games
5
in a row there. So you 3, 5, and then 2 on the road to finish.
Exactly.
Isn't that
exactly.
crazy? And the league, boy, I don't know. South has really established itself as the perennial favorite, I think, at this point.
You'd have to go with that. I mean, they've been the team that you have to knock off. They've been the one at the king of the hill so far. And if you want to win the league championship, you got to find a way to beat South.
Like you said, last year, you guys you're playing with them there for 2 quarters anyway.
Absolutely.
And then some of the other schools, North has a new coach, Highland, second-year coach in Michael Gutierrez, and then Foothill. They're now the team looking to get off that schneid, and I'm sure they'd love nothing more than to make you the school.
I'm sure they would.
If it came to that for them, yeah. And anyway, is there a game or a couple of games on here that stick out to you as far as these are of particular importance, or is it more, I guess Shafter does at this point because that's the first one.
Well, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I mean, we're looking at Shafter right now, and we don't have any other games right now. All we have is Shafter. We have to go into that game and establish ourselves in week 1. We have to get off to a good start. If we want to win 8 games, you can't win them all at once. You have to win the first one. So we got to look at Shafter, and that's got to be our most important game.
When you take a look at where you were 12 months ago versus now, what have you learned about Mira Monte football and where you want it to go?
I found that there are some young men on campus that really do want to dedicate themselves and be better and be the best men they can. And so I want to first of all, support them and try to help them be the best men they can be. And then we need to find some more guys that want to join in so we can make that team and that group be stronger. Because, it's one thing going out there and, let's say, go to battle with 20 guys, but it's much better if we can go out and battle with 35 or 40 guys. So that's what we're looking to do. Now that we have a group of guys that are committed to us, we're hoping that, people are going to see, hey, we're fun to be around. Hey, come join us. We work hard.
Sure.
Don't come just for don't come for the snacks. Okay, we're here to work hard.
The orange slices, right?
Yeah, exactly. But we're here. We're also fun to be around.
And
David,
go ahead,
yeah.
Trevor.
I think the one thing that I noticed last year was you specifically took all your entire coaching staff and you guys coached from the bottom up, from the freshman to the JV to the varsity, all together.
Correct.
How much of what you guys established last year has built into that this year and given you that confidence and kind of giving you this idea that you have more guys now?
Well, actually, you know what? That's new for us this year. We didn't do it that way last year.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we didn't do it that way last year. We kind of worked the varsity and JV together last year, and the freshman was kind of its own entity. And we went back and looked at ourselves, and we talked to a couple other coaches that were practicing a little bit differently. And we talked about it as a staff, and we said, you know what? We think the future of this school is part of it is that we need to work better and coach better those freshmen, because we get a great deal of freshmen who've never played football before. So we felt like we needed to find a way to get better coaching to those freshman football players. And I think it's starting to show for us in week 2. We're starting to see some things. That first week was kind of like, okay, but we're starting to see some stuff. We're going, okay, these kids are starting to get footwork. They're starting to do some things. So that's new for us, and we're really hoping that it does, like I think where you were trying to go with this. Now that when these kids step in and become sophomores, when they step in and become juniors, they really understand what I require as a coach, or the offensive line requires, or the wide receivers coach requires. They understand what's required of them in their position.
It's almost like having a late blooming feeder program where you're right
That's
on top.
the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
This is David Coldiron. He's the Mira Monte head coach, and we wish you the best of luck, Coach, this year, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate
This is
it.
the Super Show. We're halfway through day 2. We got an hour left to go. Dennis Moody of the very successful RFK Thunderbirds up next.